Chapter 9 In God's Hands. In my time of need, I found out I was very much alone. No one was coming for me with a lifeboat, rescuing me, nor even throwing me a life jacket. I'd cried a lot during the past 2 weeks, but I had Bjorn to get me out of bed for. And having another baby on the way was also the motivation for why I had left. There was no way I was bringing another child into that disharmonious environment. As I drove back to Richmond, not knowing where I was going exactly, I stopped by Barnes& and Nobles in Exton and took Bjorn up to the kids section to play with the trains. I called Nargis. I told her all that had happened, and she told me.
When you arrive, come over. We'll be your safe harbor. You know I'm him most of the time. We're here. Just come.
I was grateful. Despite my best efforts to be a good person and live a productive life, I found myself in this horrible mess. I had to figure it out. I'd been looking outside of myself for support, for help, and hadn't received it. Everything was so surreal. At this point, I completely surrendered and turned to God. I should have been praying all along. God, I have no idea what to do or where to go. All I know is Pennsylvania is not the answer. Please direct my step, God. Please help me get on my feet, protect my children, and keep us safe. Amen. When I arrived at Nergis, she gave me a big hug and made me some tea. I always felt welcomed in her home. Her 4 kids were playing throughout the house. It was noisy, but they were happy noises. I felt her love, her peace, and she comforted me. She had been my friend the past year and knew from repeated conversations we'd had exactly what was happening in my household. I didn't have to explain anything to her. She knew how I felt. She knew I was scared. She knew about the constant chaos, the constant fighting, and the constant disharmony whenever Tin Man was home. She knew how alone I felt too. Bjorn brought me a lot of comfort though, and with my second child on the way, I was determined to create a peaceful environment to bring him into. Nargis and I concluded I should return to the house and stay there until I had a better game plan. That night, I did return to the house and ignored Tin Man, who was in the living room watching TV. While I had been in PA, Tin Man's parents had come over and moved my things. They'd moved all my clothes and bath items out of the master bedroom and master bathroom into the piano room. They'd put a padlock door handle on the master bedroom, which made me roll my eyes. I slept on the floor in Bjorn's room. It felt safe in there because I could lock the door. My heart hurt a lot from the lack of love from Tinyan, not from any guilt I had in ending the relationship. I had loved him and supported him the best way I knew how. I'd left my full-time career in Pennsylvania, teaching private music lessons, which had taken me over 2 years to build. I'd moved to Virginia so we could be together, and I'd been the one to encourage him to apply to law school. His parents had given us this lovely house, a small 3-bedroom rancher. It was perfect. I created a nice home. I enjoyed the domestic responsibilities of making a home and taking care of it, being a mother and a wife. I was lonely because I was new to the area, but I was determined to build a life there. I'd get up and make my husband coffee in the morning. I would wait to talk to him until after he'd smoked his first cigarette and had coffee, since he was grumpy in the morning. Then he'd kiss me, tassel Bjorn's hair, and tickle him a little, and then Tin Man was out the door. Tin Man was in class and gone most of the day. I looked forward to the evenings when he would be home and we could be together as a family, but it quickly turned into him never having time for us. I looked forward to the weekends, thinking we'd spend time together. But anytime I'd ask for us to go for a walk or go to the park, he had an excuse. He needed to study, or he wanted to play his video games. Timmy barely connected with our son. I was lonely, but I felt it was only temporary. It was rough though in October because I'd found out we were pregnant with our second child and I'd gotten very ill. He never helped me. Even while I was sick, he wouldn't help. He wouldn't change Bjorn's diaper. He wouldn't clean the kitchen. He wouldn't even walk his own dog. So then I started looking forward to Thanksgiving. I can hold on, put my needs aside. I started writing in my journal daily just to get my feelings of frustration and anger out of my body. I spent so much time looking forward to Thanksgiving break so my husband could take me on a date, but instead he stayed in his pajamas all week and didn't shower and didn't want to leave the house. It was disgusting and very eye opening. I kept giving and giving. When the love and support is not given in return, it is easy to feel empty. I supported him the best way I could. I could do no more with him not taking care of me in return. The marriage quickly began to unravel. Whenever I tried to talk to Tin Man about how I felt and what I needed, he would spin it on me, blaming me for having needs and desires. The conversations ended up draining me and oftentimes would lead to yelling or, at the very least, to me crying. I called it mind fucking. Emotionally, it left me feel like I'd been run over by a truck, and I realized I just couldn't talk to him. On Christmas Day, I told him I was done. We'd driven back home from his parents, Tin Man driving, and I felt such a loathing for him in the car. He never made me feel safe. He'd yell at the other drivers as if they could hear him and create such disharmony in the car. I was so thankful to get out of the car after he'd been driving. I'd gone over to my electric piano to play, and I was shaking. I was shaking from so much emotion running through me. I was done. If I can't be happy on Christmas, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to have to beg for affection. I don't want to have to demand time together or have to convince my husband to spend time with me or our son. I could feel my throat tightening. I was playing the theme song from the movie The Piano, one of the most dramatic scenes playing in my head, a very passionate piece. As Tin Man walked by, while I was still playing the piano, focusing on the music so I didn't have to look at him, I said, I'm done. I don't want to be in this marriage anymore. I am so done. He walked over to me, folding his arms.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I am. I'm miserable. You're miserable. And you make me miserable. I can't do this anymore.
You won't leave.
Maybe he thought I wouldn't. But the last thing in the whole world I wanted to do was bring another child into that environment. The house was lovely, but it was lovely because I maintained it. It was not lovely because of him. He'd leave his clothes on the floor. He didn't clean the bathrooms or vacuum the house. He'd leave his dirty dishes in an empty sink after I'd already made dinner and cleaned up. He made no effort to support me. I felt like his slave.
Where would you go?
He'd asked. Of course, he wasn't offering me the house, the mother of his child, the mother of his unborn second child. No, this house was owned by his parents. Of course, he wasn't going anywhere. I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out,
Yeah, right.
he said, chuckling. That's it. I am done, I said, finishing the piece. I got up, pushed the piano bench in, and walked away to where Bjorn was playing.